Hello, hello. Happy Tuesday for all the viewers out there. The last time we basically went over a bunch of ideas connected to gradual, methodical chess. And typically that's my style. I like the war of attrition type of chess, the grind it out style. And this time around, I was going to try and show you, I may not be successful, but I was going to try and show you what all out attack looks like. So I'm going to try to play the sharpest continuations when they're possible, and just basically sort of show you how like an attack develops, how you get everything going, and hopefully it works out. So I'm gonna just put myself in the queue now, and then we'll see what happens. Oh, and I have a game playing Fizz. And so typically we think of attacking chess with why we think of e4. So I'm going to go e4 and just, oh, and Sicilian, perfect way to get this aggressive line of chess going. Sicilian knight off, perfect. And I'm going to go with the English attack. Typically you can go bishop e3, but I like to go f3 first so that you don't get this knight g4 move. And wow, this guy is hot and heavy with the opening lines. Okay, and h5. This move is designed specifically against the g4 break. Now, typically in this line, white actually, because black has prevented the g4 move, white usually goes bishop e2 and castles kingside here. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go bishop e2, and then I'm going to go, what am I going to do? Yeah, and then I'm going to go knight d5. And yeah, this is typically how the line goes, actually. White essentially decides to castle kingside because of this h5 move. But man, this guy knows the theory and is bringing out all the moves super fast. So I have to try and play fast myself. So that'll be a challenge. Okay. So I'm gonna go c4. I think that's normal here. Just essentially reinforcing my center. And then queen d2 looks normal, connecting my rooks. Now, when you're attacking, you do still have to do some of the things you do if you slow play the position. It just is at some point you open the position super aggressively, and then that's what kicks everything off. This is a very, very tricky position, though, that I don't understand particularly well. But I think g4 is supposed to be this key break in these positions, but I don't know if I'm ready for it yet. So tough decision to make here. I'm going to go rook c1 first. I'm going to make a few prophylactic moves before I just go crazy and bust it open. King h7 I don't really love because I think the king can be in the line of the diagonal there. And I'm going to go g4. This is the attacking chess I'm talking about. We have the two bishops, so we have our king is relatively safe. And now we're just going to try and open the position. And my king on h1, I would argue, is a little bit safer than the one on h7. And we're going to see just how this develops. This was not quite the Sicilian I was aiming for, but when I was thinking about the English attack. But let's just see how it goes. And my gosh, this guy Fizz is playing super quickly, so that is something to keep the eye out on. Now, my idea with this move is actually to play g5. And the idea with g5 would be that, oh, perfect. Yeah, this is exactly what I wanted. The idea is that now I get g5 with tempo. And now whenever white tries to open the position with, say, f5, the g6 pawn will be weak. So that's what I have my eyes on. So, yeah, I was hoping to attack, but maybe I will just have to just sort of grind this one out. And now I'm going to go rook g1, and the idea is that if this just to sort of discourage this f5 move, because I'll get en passant and really hit the g6 pawn, and we'll see what goes on there. By the way, I'm actually doing this stream right before the Warriors Blazers game. I'm dying to see that action. It's really, I mean, Damian Lillard, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant all on one court. It's going to be a lot of points tonight. Anyways, a5, just try. That's basically trying to kick my knight away. I see that. Um, I'm going to go queen g2, and the idea is that to give my knight the d2 square, so that if black goes a4, my knight can go to d2. But it also has this idea of putting more pressure indirectly on g6. So, yeah. Okay, knight c5. Okay, interesting. And the question is to take or not to take. That is the question. I have two ways to take. Both of them are not so attractive to me, because then I sort of correct the backward pawn that's the backward b6 pawn. Tough. I really have to make a decision here, though. I'm going to play bishop takes c5, and the idea is I think I'm going to try and establish some light square pressure by going knight d2 and knight e4. And the knight on e4 is a really, really, really strong piece, essentially putting really just a great deal of pressure on both the d6 pawn and the f6 square. I really had this intention to attack, but unfortunately it requires some cooperation, and I have not gotten that cooperation yet. So that's where we're at. Now with knight e4, I did allow this knight f5 move, and I was aware of that. But I'm not so worried about it because I figured that at some point I'm going to dislodge the knight. So, I'm going to go queen h3. Ooh, that might have been a blunder. I think I've just blundered the b2 pawn, but I had this idea of playing knight f6 check. That was the idea. And the idea was that if knight f6 check, bishop takes f6, I won't recapture with the pawn. I'll actually play bishop takes f5 and have some threats of my own. But let's see if rook takes b2 is captured. My idea was that after knight f6 check here, if bishop takes f6, bishop takes f5, and then the bishop on f6 is still hanging. Oh, yeah, he moves back. My opponent snuffed out the danger on this one and wisely defended. I'm going to go rook c2 then. Just cover the b2 pawn. And I'm getting extremely low on time here, so I'm actually going to have to pick it up and maybe not narrate all the moves. But I'm trying to break through now by playing f4 and knight f6 check. Yeah, and I think rook b6 is a little bit slow because I don't think it stops my idea, but we'll see. I'm trying to go knight f6 check here, just open up the position really, really quickly. And queen h3 trying to trade queens makes sense, but I really don't want to trade queens here. So I'm going to go queen somewhere. Queen g2. Defending the b2 pawn. Yeah. Check on f6. Rook h4. And now I'm trying to blast open the position as quickly as possible. So I'm threatening to play something like knight takes h5 check. And I think I'm crashing through. The question is just a matter of time. Because all my pieces are so well concentrated here. Wow, there's still no breakthrough. That's very, very annoying. Now I'm trying to focus in somewhere else, but I don't see a breakthrough. I don't have time, so I'm going to try and force it through. Even though I don't think it's there. Looks like it's going to be a win for white. I mean, a win for black. I'm really trying my best to hit at those weak squares, but I don't see a breakthrough right now. And there's time. The guy Fizz played just way too quickly in the opening. My narration was definitely. I have one last ditch effort here to give Queen f6 or Queen f7 check, but it may not be enough. And I am a rook down, so. But it's getting tight. 20 seconds left for Fizz. I'm gonna have to hover my queen over one of these squares. Oh, wow. Ugh. And I flagged up a rook and a bishop, so my attack was crashing through. But yeah, my intention was to play an opposite sides castling game, and unfortunately this line does not sort of lead to those types of positions. But you can attack with the kings on the same side, so let's just see what I was trying to do. So e4, c5, knight of 3, d6, just a little recap. Knight of 6, knight c3, a6. This is the standard Najdorf, Sicilian Najdorf fodder. And after f3, it's the beginning of the English attack usually. I want to develop the bishop to e3, but first you play f3 to stop this knight g4 move, harassing the e3 bishop. And typically, e5 is played, and knight b3, bishop e6, bishop e3. The intention here is to go queen d2, castles queenside, and then g4. But this move h5 changes the contours of the position in such a way that now the g4 move doesn't work because the bishop, the knight, and the pawn are on it. But it does have a drawback in that it weakens the g5 square. This h5 move does weaken the square. And as a consequence of that, typically you actually castle kingside here, strangely enough, because it's not as easy to break through with the pawn storm anymore. So you sort of change a different tact. And so bishop e2, knight bd7, knight d5, I think this is all normal, and then g6. And the point is that black has really good dark square control. White does have the two bishops, but I repeat, black has great dark square control. And so he tries to blockade on the dark squares. And if you look in this position, black has more a pawn majority on the king side and a pawn minority on the queen side. So typically that's why the blockade on the queen side for black on the dark squares is so effective. Because after these moves castle, bishop g7, c4, b6, it's pretty difficult to get in this pawn break with c5, because even if I want to go prepare knight b4 by going like knight d2 and stuff like that, black may even go a5, and it's just, you're not going to break there. So you typically have to play a more patient game than my aggressively inclined self would have wanted here. And I did. I built it up. I played some patient moves. And I prepared this g4 break. And I'm actually sure that I'm better here. And the reason I'm better is because after g5, I take more space. And I have the potential to attack. And so I think I did well here to get the bishop on the line and the rook on the line. And somewhere around here I stumbled. I'm actually curious. I'm going to turn the engine. Oh, wow. So the computer's saying it's about equal, maybe slightly better for black, but I didn't feel that way during the game because I felt like this bishop on g7 is totally shut out of the action. So that was my feeling, and I'm just curious to see where this goes. Yeah, okay, and then very quickly, actually, I am better because I have this knight f6 check move here, and I just missed that. But slowly but surely, I got my pieces concentrated on this side of the board, and was just right about there to launch this attack. And then I got into some time trouble, and that was that. But you basically can see sort of how the beginning of an attack is formulated. The kings are sort of determine their place, and then you typically try to pawn storm and flood all your pieces to that side of the board. And that's what I at least tried to do. Hopefully we can have a better result in the next game, and let's see who we have. So I'm going to wait on the queue right now. Yeah, anyways, while we wait on this queue, attacking chess is really sort of the sexy way to play. Everyone talks about it. It's like, it's what you actually start out, most people doing tactics and puzzle books and things like checkmate in 2 and checkmate in 3 or checkmate in 1. And checkmate is the objective, but there are many ways to win a game. But even as I may have a different style than outright, attacking, the tactics are the fundamentals of what you're trying to do. It's like learning your ABCs. If you don't have the fundamentals, you can't expand and move on to other arenas. So it's so important that if you're trying to get better at attacking chess, that you just work on tactics. And there are actually many websites and resources of which you can do that. Yeah. Okay, so d4, okay, and I'm still trying to get in my attacking mode, so I'm going to play the King's Indian. The King's Indian is a very, very sharp, aggressive line where black actually gives up the center, but tries to get something going in return. And e3 is actually a little bit passive, but it's fine all the same. And it actually allows me to do the King's Indian attack, which is also a staple, sort of a fan favorite of my chess. I really do like the King's Indian attack. And the idea is that the center becomes closed here. And now with the center closed, it's really the impetus is on black to sort of generate a kingside attack, because white has more space on the queen side. So let's see how that happens. Yeah, it's a little bit tricky to generate, but typically I'm gonna try and push my pawns on the king side here and generate some sort of really, really annoying attack. My opponent does have an idea of what they're doing, though, which is, much to my dismay, going to be a challenge. Typically, I don't want to give this light-squared bishop up for the knight, so I'm actually going to retreat and put my knight on c5. And here my idea is essentially I want to sort of attack the h3 pawn, maybe with a sacrifice, maybe not, but I want to put as much pressure as I can on this h3 pawn and then prepare perhaps to sacrifice later. But I don't want to declare my intentions. I don't want to be so obvious about it. So I'm going to try and not just play rush g5 because it's the obvious move. I want to play very sort of, I want to build up to the g5 push without sort of showing my hand, really. And yeah. So how do I get that done? I really want to think about going g5 here, but I don't think it's the best thing to do. I'm going to go f5. And basically, I'm really, because the position is closed, I can afford to sort of attack on the king side very aggressively. And so I'm trying to move my pieces to that area and then pawn storm and just bum rush the white king side. Now with this f5 move, it does have some drawbacks that I wasn't really thinking so much about. Namely that now my bishop is blocked from the h3 square. So now I think it's time. I'm just going to push and see what happens. I'm just going to go. It's a very, 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 very aggressive. Okay, and bishop h5 attacks my rook. Just scoot that to the side, and then okay, f4. Very double-edged move, because pushing pawns in front of the king is not always advisable, but here it makes a lot of sense because I was gaining too much space, and you can't allow the attacking side that's pawn storming to suffocate you. But I take en passant, and I still intend to pawn storm, and I think that's what's gonna happen here. Yeah, I'm gonna either take on f3 with the bishop, take check, or I should play g4. I'm not so sure which is better here. Should I take this bishop, or play g4? Really, really tough decision. For a more talented player, it might be an obvious decision, but I don't want to allow this doubling of rooks, so I think I'm going to play g4 right now. I thought that if I played knight takes f3, I helped the white double the rooks, because rook takes f3 would have been played. And now here was where I was actually sort of trying to get creative, because maybe I don't take this pawn. Maybe I go further. Right? Maybe I play h3 or knight takes or something. I don't know. Because if I take this pawn right now, then the bishop goes to e4 and gets a little bit of space. Yeah, I'm going to go h3. I think it's a little bit clever to open some more, to try and loosen up the f3 bishop and open some more lines around the white king. It may not exactly be correct, but this is Blitz, and I'm trying to attack, and I'm trying to demonstrate how attacks develop. Typically, you sacrifice pawns, and you really don't want to be always so materialistic when you're going for it. And sometimes a part of attacks are making confusing moves. I doubt my opponent considered this h3 move, but the idea is my queen now has access to the h4 square, which might be valuable. And look, this move actually did confuse enough because my opponent did not actually take the pawn, which is a small victory. So now what? Knight c3. It's really messy. It's like, do I take or do I not take? Or yeah, now I'm gonna take this pawn because on fg4, because I just feel like I'm getting somewhere right now, and yeah, I feel like it's the right decision. And and yeah, now I think I have a pretty interesting attack, because now I can go knight takes e4, queen takes e4, and f takes g2. And my idea is now that this king is a little naked, I can actually try to open the position a little bit more. Yeah, now bishop f5 is decisive because I'm hitting this rook on b1. But basically now I'm going to just trade. But the point is that I was able to sort of transform my advantage because of my attack. So the attack did work. Now it requires some converting. Trade when you're up. So I'm going to trade those bishops, play knight d3. Trade material when you're up. Now the attack is sort of gone, but I can continue to trade. Okay. Interesting. Knight g6, fair enough. Or knight e4, fair enough. I'm going to activate my king. King h5, protect this pawn. And I'm just sort of moving my king slowly but surely up the board. Okay. And now I'm going to go further up. I'm going to go king h3. I want to keep this king boxed in, because I don't have a lot of time, and I want to really try and get this king boxed in and deliver checkmate. And now these knights look a little bit clumsy because one is defending the other, so the e4 knight can't move. And yeah, I mean, and then my rook is still applying pressure, so all good. Knight f1, okay. And knight f3, and then I can go knight f3 check, knight f1, knight f3 check, and now I have this discovery check, which I was counting on if the king went to f2. And I think there's gonna be resignation right here. And yep, my opponent has resigned. And that was actually a successful attack. Essentially, I tried to go King's Indian. Typically, King's Indian players with white play e4, and that didn't happen, so it became sort of e3. And this is transposed into what's called the King's Indian attack, with the colors reversed, essentially. Usually it's white that plays this way. But basically, white is not trying to commit to the e4 move by playing e4 himself, so I get to play e4. And once the position is closed, it's sort of a race. It becomes who breaks through first. Does black break through on the king side and attack this king, or does white break through on the queen side? And then it just became a race. So I had to defend the e4 pawn. I played h5 to sort of, the h pawn was sort of served as a lever to break open the h file, sort of bother the white pawn structure. The idea was to go h4 and h3. Knight b6 might have been a mistake, but I really should have wanted to play bishop f5, so that's why I did it. And then I sort of slowed down right around here by playing this a5 move. I actually slowed up White's pawn storm a little bit, and that's why I think a4 might have been a minor mistake. And then after knight b5, I played h4, and I'm just slowly but surely getting more of my pieces to this king side, just sort of moving around in there and getting some pressure. And I did not want to trade this light squared bishop for the knight, so I went back, actually. And the point is that this light squared bishop is an asset for black in the King's Indian type structures. Typically, if you don't have it, you can't actually deliver a successful attack. So that's why I kept it, especially in the King's Indian. King's Indian attack, you can get rid of it sometimes, but very key for King's Indian players out there. The light squared bishop is very important. Without it, there's no attack. And then I slowly but surely just got my pieces over there and pushed my pawns and broke through. And then here, by playing this h3 move, it may not have been entirely correct, but I create a little bit of confusion. And confusion is good, especially when it opens a position. You never forget chess is a human game, and humans make mistakes. That's why it's fun. That's why it's beautiful. That's why it's interesting. So my opponent actually ignored this human element. And then I traded and was fortunate enough to win an exchange. But you can see in this position, right when I won this exchange, the king is totally naked. And that's usually the sign that you're doing something right. So anyways, enough talking, more blitz. And I get another 5 minute. And we're going to try and attack again with e4. Oh yes, another Sicilian. If allowed, I'm not going to go English. Oh, a Khan variation. Okay. So this is, if they go a6, yeah, that's the Khan. And I'm going to try and, I'm going to try and do my best to really just attack, get all my pieces out, which I have right now, and then just go for it. Just going to go for it. So I'm going to play a3, a little bit of a slow move, but the point is just to not get bothered with b4. And now I want to go f4 if given a chance. Just trying to break open the position a little bit and create some threats. Okay, f4, knight bd7. This is all pretty standard stuff. And this is where it gets a little bit tricky. So I'm going to go queen f3 just to overprotect the e4 pawn, and my idea is maybe my queen goes to h3. Yeah, this is what I want. Maybe I don't want it right away. Maybe I should take my time. Yeah, I'm going to go rook a e1. And then I'm going to go g4. And I'm just going to try, okay, that's interesting. h5 is very interesting. And I'm going to go g5. And knight g4. And now I'm going to go g6. And I'm trying to just break open black's king side by any means necessary. I don't even care about giving up my bishop here. Normally I would, honestly. But I'm just trying to break open black's king side with this pawn. Because if f takes g6, I have knight takes c6, and that's devastating. Now I think I have some sort of semblance of an attack. Because now after g takes f7 check, this king is loose, and I'm attacking. Yippee! So here's a critical position, because it's how do you break through? How do you continue to get pressure? And typically when your queen or a rook is lined up against a king, you want to open that line. So I think f5 is the way to go, and that's where I'm going to go. And I expected e5. And I wasn't so concerned because now there are all these light squares that are weak. That whole diagonal, g8 to a2, is chronically weak. So now I was going to go knight e6. And the point is that I hit the knight. But he can't actually... I hit the queen, but he couldn't take with the knight because after f takes e6 check, it would have been double discovery check. So this is all great for me so far. And now queen d7 doesn't really change that much, but now I'm going to put my other knight on d5 and just rip open the position. And bishop takes d5, I'm happy to see. E takes d5. And now my knight on e6 is an anchor. You can't possibly take that knight now because there's a fork of the king and the queen. And my bishop finally gets opened up on this diagonal. Almost similar to that first Sicilian game where the king is on h7. After e takes d5, this bishop on d3 has a new diagonal to work with. And I'm getting really excited here. And now what's left to do is just get that, I just need to get this knight on g4 out of the way. And I'm going to start with king h1. You might say, oh, what's the point of that? Why isn't that slow? And the point is I want to play rook g1 and play h3 and kick it away. But first I'm going to go, I don't want to allow any counterplay on this d5 pawn. So, does it matter? That's actually a question. Does it actually matter? Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it does. I'm going to go bishop g1. And the idea is that I'm not going to even give the g4 knight the opportunity to trade for my bishop. So that's the point there. And I want to attack, but I don't see how to attack right now. I'm going to go rook e2. Yeah. And the idea is actually to shift the rook over to the g file. So I'm going to go rook g2 now and try and get on the g file. And that knight's annoying me on b6, so I'm going to trade it. It was annoying me. But now I'm going to go rook g2, and I might think about sacrificing an exchange here. But I think even better than that is just to play h3 and harass the knight. Okay. I did not expect knight e3. I missed that move. But does it really bother me? That's the question. Because I think I have queen... Do I have queen g3? Yeah, I'm going to go queen g3 here. And I think queen g6 check is a threat. Or is it? Or wait, do I have rook takes g7 check here? And f6. Oh man, it looks too attractive. I think I'm going to go for it. Rook takes g7 check, opening up this whole position, clearing the f file, and then f6. And the idea is now my bishop is open. The bishop is open on that diagonal further. My queen is open, and I'm actually attacking the bishop on g7, threatening f takes g6 discovered check. Wow, I'm really a little bit excited that this might actually work. This would be really cool if it works. I've given up a whole rook in an attacking style, and now when you're attacking like this, I don't actually see the end. Sometimes that's sort of the problem with attacks, that you're like, well, where's the checkmate or where's the winning of material? I don't actually see the end, but what I do see is a king that's getting naked and a lot of pieces I can throw at black. And so sort of intuitively, it's like, what do I have going for me? I have those factors. And now this bishop on f8 going to the back rank doesn't connect the rook, so I think I can go further forward, and I'm going to do that by playing I wanted to do that by playing queen e4, or somewhere, queen somewhere, basically. I want to get to g6, but if I go queen g3, then they have knight g4. Yeah. Queen g4, does it work? Does it work? I have no time to figure that out. Or maybe knight g5. So many choices, so little time. Yeah, queen e4, I'm going to go for that. I think I just allowed black an escapes a resource with rook h6. Yeah, I missed this move. Yikes, 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 yikes. All right, now I have to give some checks because I'm running out of time here. I really just want this knight to leave the the f5 square, because if it leaves the f5 square, I might have ideas of queen f5. Hmm. Yeah, my attack did not crash through in sort of the beautiful style I wanted it to, but I need more time as an attacker. I think that's basically what I'm learning now. I think I had a promising attack here. I just couldn't see the final death nail, and well, I have 18 seconds, so I'm gonna just try and play a little bit faster and see what happens. But I'm almost positive I had something. I think I'm gonna go h3 next if given the opportunity. Yeah, just to attack this knight. Yep, and I got flagged. Yep, tough one to lose. This one I was a little bit more proud of my attack though. It did not crack. It did not, it was not a failure entirely. So this is the con variation of the Sicilian. Just to sort of show you what was going on here. It's connected with this move e6. And after d4, c takes, knight takes, queen a6. This is the a6 is really the beginning of the con, because there are other moves here that sort of changed into other names. For instance, instead of a6, knight c6 would be the time-and-off variation of the Sicilian. And essentially here, with the Sicilian, white basically wants quick development. So I develop my knight, and then I develop my bishop, and then I develop my other bishop, and I castle. And I really want to castle queenside here again, but it's not exactly advisable against the con variation, because typically if black is playing a quick b5 and then b4, my knight on c3 can be harassed, and my king would be lined up against the queen if it went to castle queenside. It went to c1. So I went for a different type of setup, castling kingside. And here, if we get to this position around here, I'm ready. I'm ready to go. I'm playing g4. My idea is to play g5. It's clear that black's king is either going to stay on e8, or we're going to castle kingside. In both those cases, I want a pawn storm. And h5 was a bit of a mistake. Typically, it's a good idea to play h5 to harass the g4 pawn, maybe open the file for the rook. But the problem is I'm not going to play g takes h5 here. I'm playing g5, so the rook is still a little bit dormant on h8. And after g5, I hit the knight with tempo, and then play this very move g6. And this pawn on g6 serves as a lever. What I mean by that is it basically opens, it sort of loosens up the black kingside pawns, and sort of opens up the position in a useful way. And you'll see this mechanism many times when you're attacking, using pawns as levers to sort of open up the position. You saw it in my game with black, where I was playing the king's Indian attack, where actually this move h3 was used as a lever. And you see a lot of times flank pawns being used as levers, and here it's no different. And here it actually can't even be captured, because knight takes e6 would be so crushing. It's such a valuable pawn in the middle. And after knight f8, which was reasonable enough, but sort of admitting a problem is going on, here my queen, my rook are all lined up against the king, and this is a winning position. I know this. If this was a slower game, I might have fared better, but I want to attack, so I got that itch. And in this position, I got this knight on e6 that's just such a monster. I've sufficiently opened it up. I just need a little bit more pressure because now black is sort of trying to do the best blockading black can do. And I traded my bishop, got my rook to the g-file, and this is the critical position. And I'm curious after knight e3. Yeah, rook takes g7. That rook sacrifice is absolutely correct, it's saying. Bishop takes g7, f6, and bishop f8. And this was the critical moment. Wow, I played queen e4, and I thought that was incorrect, but it apparently is the best move. So that just goes to show that maybe my instincts aren't so bad. Because when you're playing in these types of positions, you do have to trust your instincts. Now, what I missed here, actually, is after rook h6, rook f3. Rook f3 was critical. And the point is, after rook f3, I actually just win the knight. Because the knight basically would have, if it went to g4, my queen would have access to this very important f5 square. And then I can attack this diagonal. And from my queen on f5 can go knight g5 check, and then queen e6, and that would have been it. But yeah, that's that thing about attacking chess too is one slip when you're down material, and that's the game, as opposed to sort of the gradual build-up. So you have to be comfortable and precise. And I repeat, comfortable and precise about how you go about attacks, because it really can just go all down the tubes in one move, especially when you're sacrificing material to do it. Wow. I sounded like Donald Trump there with the comfortable and precise, like extreme vetting. Anyways, I'm not a huge Donald Trump fan, and you'll probably learn that over the course of some of these videos. We're going to give it another shot, though. Stolen Candy. Wow, that's a handle I've not seen ever, and it's a pretty good one. I'm going to hope to steal some of my opponent's candy here. So e4, again, we're going to just try and attack. And what's the most aggressive line against the Caro-Kann? It's the advanced variation. So I'm going to go d4, d5, and then e5. And the reason it's the most aggressive is that you're just taking space. And after bishop f5, what is the most aggressive line? I think it's h4. The idea is to play g4. And, yeah, this is as sharp as it gets, really. I think this is okay. So basically the point is I'm actually giving up this b2 pawn. It's sort of poison, because if you play queen takes b2, I'm actually going to give the rook as well. So e6, I think, is the way to go here. And the point is that, yeah, black wins this rook, but is so underdeveloped. And now this queen b6 move is queen b3 move is very annoying, because now this queen on a1 is actually trapped. So I have all this massive development. My queen is on b3, my bishop's on g5, and I'm going to play knight f3 and castles. And this queen is stuck on a1 trapped. Although, in this particular variation, the d4 pawn is hanging, so I'm not so sure I did everything entirely correctly. So, tough to say. So, the material count is pretty crazy right now, because I basically am down a lot. But I may have a massive attack. So, I really wonder. So queen takes a8, and this knight on b8 is pinned, so I think it has to be defended by playing queen b6 or queen e5 check. And I think queen b6 is a little bit better because it attacks my b1 knight. So that was played. That's fine. And now I'm going to go knight c3. because I have to defend that knight. And I'm not really sure what's going on here at all. But I'm hoping that somehow the kingside pieces that black has are a little bit more difficult to develop than my pieces are. I am down 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm down 2 pawns. So black has 7 pawns and I have 5 pawns. But it looks like my pieces might have a little bit more potential because now I'm castling. So my king is definitely safer. And I'm threatening this move rook b1, which actually would win a piece. And so, again, when you're attacking, sometimes the material doesn't matter. It matters about development and speed. And that's what I'm counting on here. I'm counting on the speed and safety of my king. Actually, speaking of king safety, there's this one GM who I've played a few times, and who I was really fascinated by analyzing with him, named Johnny Hector, who was basically extremely obsessed with king safety. And I really learned a valuable lesson from him, because in every game we were analyzing, I was looking at material, and he was just like, whose king is safer? And sometimes just that brute force thought of which king is safer can be the only thing that matters. So it was a really interesting perspective to get that from him. Anyways, knight fd7 overprotects the b8 knight. Excuse me. And now I have to find a way to break through. I'm going to start with rook b1. It makes sense to essentially kick the queen away. And I think queen c7 or queen d8 is obligatory. And then find out what to do next. But after either move, queen c7 or queen d8, which would protect the b8 knight, I have this nice move, knight d4, because now that the knight would be now the queen would be removed from the b6 g1 diagonal, the d4 square would be available to me. So I think I really like my chances, even though I'm 2 pawns down, because all my pieces are active, and my king is safer, and that's really the number one thing here. So queen d8. Okay, and now knight d4. This knight, I think, can be real menace here. In fact, king f7 might be the move. Yeah. I must confess I did miss king f7, even though it's very obvious. Why I missed it is an interesting question. I'm not quite sure. What to do? I really wanted that e6 pawn. Now I'm going to go rook e1. And the idea is just to hit on e6, because the knight on b8 is pinned, so I don't have to worry about the knight on b8 moving. And at e5 I expected, and now I'll play knight takes c6, because now I was counting on the fact that the d5 pawn has been weakened a little bit. So now after knight takes c6, if we trade the knights and my queen lands on c6, d5 is hanging twice. And those pawns in the center, even though they look pretty, are both fairly loose. So knight takes c6, okay. Queen takes c6. I couldn't take the queen because the knight on c6 protected the queen on d8. But now these pawns look very loose. And again, I'm only a pawn down now. Or wait, how many pawns down? 4, 5, 6. Yep, I'm only a pawn down now. Okay, I can count. And bishop g7, yes, it protects one of the pawns, but it doesn't look so pretty. And so now I'm going to go either knight takes d5 or queen takes d5. I like queen takes d5. Check. Sometimes you got to just roll with the checks. And yeah, now the material is actually equal now, but look at how ugly the position is. So, so e6, okay. And now I'm going to go queen f3 check. and bishop f6 was expected, and now rook d1. And this is nice, because now both of black's minor pieces are pinned. The knight can move, but the queen is really valuable, so you wouldn't want to lose that. So both pieces are pinned. I'm actually even in material, and my pieces are still more active, and my king is still safer. So I love what's going on right now. And this attack will come through. And in fact, it doesn't even need to come through anymore, because I have too much overwhelming pressure. And rook f8, I can actually win an exchange. I can actually win the 2-piece for the rook right here by playing rook takes d7 and queen takes f6 check. So, or I can play knight e4 and wait and put more pressure. I'm going to play knight e4 just because I can. I have so much pressure here that I can afford to actually take my time. And yeah, king e7, not a move that you want to make, but sometimes you have to make them. And yeah, I'm just going to take a bishop takes f6, just wins, because the knight can't take the rook, so really tough sledding. The knight can't take the bishop on f6 because my rook is... Oh wow, so my opponent actually resigned and is going through the moves really quickly. And yeah, basically this position that my opponent's looking at here is really, really tough, because the queen is trapped and there isn't much to do. So yeah, so basically tough position, good attack. Let me get one more in. I've already missed a half an hour of the Warriors game, and not loving that. So let me see what my last opponent will be before the Warriors-Blazers game. In case you haven't noticed, I'm pretty much obsessed with basketball. Basketball and chess have always been, for me, the two games I was super into from basically 5 years old. And I basically played both of them and was engaged in both of them since then. So I think it's really important, especially because you might have heard my opinion on chess being a sport before. I don't think it's a sport. People disagree with me. You're free to reason with me. But that's just my opinion. And as we wait in this 5-minute pool, I tend to feel that I like to look at a board while I'm waiting. It just keeps my eyes on the chess. Even while I'm waiting, it keeps me alert. But basically, basketball was really an important outlet for me, because I think it was the proper balance between the sport and the mind game. And so I really wanted to mix the physical and the mental, and so they really complemented each other really well. Okay, we have a new opponent, Fizz. I played this guy the first time, and I'm black, and I'm going to actually play Sicilian this time. So e4, c5, knight f3, d6, d4, c takes, knight f6, knight c3, a6. We've seen all of this before. And h3 is the newest trend in the Naradorf. They love to play this h3 move preparing g4. And most people will go actually e6. And so I'm going to go e6. And then, how's it go? I think it goes bishop e7, g5, knight fd7, bishop e3. And now it looks like this g5 pawn is actually hanging, but it's not, because if bishop takes g5 is played, white has this cute tactic, knight takes e6. And the point is that after knight takes e6, f takes e6, there's queen h5 check. And black would retain the piece and have the two bishops. So don't want to fall for that. So you play b5 here. a3, bishop b7. And I always found this a3 move to be fishy, even though it's a main line, because it seems like the pawn is actually a lever. And I was talking about levers previously, but this guy moves too fast for me to explain everything. So I'm going to go knight c6 before he just flags me. This is normal. Queen d2, castles. Rook g1, aggressive guy. This guy, rook g1. I'm gonna go knight d e5. And now I'm actually threatening to play knight takes d4 and knight f3 check, because there's a family fork there. So bishop e2, that's fine. And I'm going to go rook c8. And basically, white has to castle queenside eventually, because the king can't stay in the middle, and my pieces are slowly but surely, they're all sort of gearing up to play b4 or knight c4, or sometimes they exchange sacrifice rook takes c3, and essentially just trying to put as much pressure as I can on the queen side. So f4, I expected that. So now I'm going to go knight takes d4. Bishop takes d4, and I was hoping knight c4 worked here. My idea was just to get the two bishops and keep my rook on the active c4, on the active c file. Now let's see what goes on, because my king is getting pointed at in a serious way. Like, this is not entirely comfortable, but I like to think my attack is a little bit quicker, because I'm ready to play b4 in some moment, and my rook is very strong on c4. Okay, b3, hitting my rook. It's a reasonable move, but it also does weaken the diagonal. So, it weakens the black king side a little, white queen side a little bit as well. Rook takes c3 looks like an incorrect exchange sacrifice. So, it's tough. I really want to do it though. Rook takes c3, bishop takes c3, bishop takes e4. But there's queen d4 threatening mate. So I'm going to go back, rook c8. And now white actually might castle queenside. But I have this d5 move, which is annoying. At queenside castling, I have d5 with the idea of playing bishop takes a3. And essentially, the reason this is even possible is because this b3 move was played. So f5, okay. I'm going to take it. A little bit strange, but the idea is that now, after rook e8, I was threatening a discovery. Now I'm going to go d5, and the idea is just to hit the a3 pawn. The one drawback, though, is that it really shuts this b7 bishop out of the game, which is not what I was wanting. So I might have incorrectly here spoiled my chances a little bit. Okay, but that's a move. See, king b2 is a move I'm happy to see. That's a move I'm happy to see, because now there might be some tactics. Yeah, I'm going to go b4. Okay, b takes knight a2. I'm going to take that. And I'm getting a little bit closer to getting in, but the problem is my king side is a little bit weak. My king looks... because now g6 might be coming. It's a little bit scary, no doubt. Pawn g6 looks really scary, I must say. I'm scared. My plan in the meantime, if I was afforded a few moves, I would think about playing like something like rook e4. Oh man, this g6 move looks really scary. Alright, well, I'm going to take it once. And then if f takes g6, I'm going to play h6. Ooh, h5. This guy is relentless. I cannot allow that file to be open. I can't allow it. It's my king. I will not survive if that happens. So I'm going to play rook e4, maybe? I don't even know. I would love to trade queens if that's possible. Maybe a5. Yeah, I'm going to go rook e4. The idea is to think about maybe sacrificing the exchange. Just bishop on d4 is so strong that I just almost want to get rid of it at all costs. And h6 is a move I don't want to make, but I just can't allow the g file to be opened. And it's opened anyway. Well, now I have a threat of my own. My idea is to play rook takes d4, but it might be too little too late, because white is really fast, faster than I would have liked. So basically the problem is that I didn't exactly break through on the queen side. I stalled a little bit, and in the Sicilian, you cannot afford to stall. You stall, you get into some trouble. Okay, and now I'm going to try and trade these bishops. This bishop was so annoying to me that I just want to get rid of it at all costs. So I'm playing bishop e5 to sort of just get rid of that bishop. f7 check, king f8, I expected. c3, okay, I'm cool with that. I think I've survived the worst. The worst is over because, or is it? I just got forked, and I'm going to have to resign. Whew, that was a crazy, crazy game. Crazy, crazy game. So let's see what happened. So e4, c5, knight f3, d6, d4. All this is normal Nardorf stuff. And h3, this has all been played actually as well. e6, bishop e7, g5, bishop knight fd7. Again, here the g5 pawn actually isn't hanging because of knight takes e6. So b5, I don't chase that. a3, bishop e7, h4. I think this all has still been played, actually. The theory in these, they change every week. This is the other thing about sharp lines. The theory just is always changing. Queen d2, castles, rook g1. And here's sort of the first critical position, because it's like I'm castled, almost ready to go with my stuff, and you have to figure out what to do. I decide to bring more pieces to the middle, which I think is okay. And then bishop e2, rook c8, f4, takes. And here's really critical. I'm going to turn on the engine just to see. I played knight c4. Basically, if I can get the two bishops, I'm always cool with that. And b3, I went back. We said that was fine. And f5, wow, e5 is being suggested, and queen c7. Those are moves I didn't look at when I was playing. I thought it would be cool to open up my rook against the king, but it turns out this is just too slow. And this is where I faltered, because when I took this pawn here, just allowing this e-file, it's not really useful to me, and allowing this f6 move to be played later, it's just too much. And after castles, d5 is probably another blunder, because this bishop on b7 now really is just shut out of the game by this pawn on d5 and the bishop on d4, and that was it. Now I did get some counterplay here, so I did manage to get this pawn lever with b4, and then b takes a3, and king b1. And here, white still doesn't have the pawn pushes yet, but they're coming. And so I played bishop d6, g6, took, and here was the move that was really the worst move of the game. I played rook e4, which doesn't really do anything. My big problem is this bishop and this rook bearing down on the g7 pawn, and bishop e5 was called for. I had to trade those bishops ASAP. I didn't do it, and I got rolled over. So what can we say from the games that we played today, or that I played today? Basically, a few things I would keep in mind when you're attacking. First and foremost, you still have to develop. You still have to get your pieces out. Excuse me. And those things really still matter a ton. Secondly, pawn levers. Pawn levers are typically the way that you open up the position when you're attacking. Excuse me, wow. And very important to be able to use pawn levers. Thirdly, sometimes when you're attacking, you give up material and you sack pieces, and you have to be precise because one slip and then the game turns around in their favor. So really, you have to look out for all your opponent's resources when you're attacking, and that's something that can be tough. But that being said, your intuition also plays a role, because if you just basically go for it and you don't, you typically don't see all the consequences. It's impossible to see all the different ideas resources that your opponent has. So sometimes you might not see the end, but if you have a lot of pieces and a lot of activity and a lot of counterplay against the king, typically it makes sense to go for it because you have enough resources to do some damage. And I guess lastly, time. I think in these games we definitely saw when you're attacking, you definitely towards the end you may definitely need some time to finish up the game. And so if you're playing in a longer game, it's like in tournament games, for instance, very, very important that you manage your time wisely, because it sucks to be in a position where you need to continue an attack and continue a brilliant plan, and you don't have the time to do it, and it just collapses. So if you don't have a whole ton of time, it doesn't necessarily always make sense to go for the sharpest stuff, because one move will just ruin everything, as opposed to playing the methodical way. So if you're playing Blitz, you lose the game, not the end of the world. And, at the end of the day, if you play Blitz and you play it in an attacking fashion, you might actually learn how to attack faster, learn how to calculate faster under time constraints. So that can be a great help as well. So that's it for me for now. I'm going to go check out this Warriors-Blazers game. I'm sure it's been fire. And thanks for watching. Bye.